Hello, and welcome to Between the Lines. I'm Traci Hunter Abramson, and I am here with Sarah M. Eden, Esther Hatch, and Sian and Bessie. And this year, as we're heading into, finishing up the year and heading into a new one, we thought it would be really fun to take a look at our highs and lows and discuss what we are most excited about in this coming year. So first, we're going to start with our highlights. What was one of the best moments that you had of this past year?
I'll go first. I have an easy answer to this, guys. I got to not only announce that we're making a movie of one of my books, but that I am one of the producers, so I get to be involved in it. And we ran a Kickstarter to not only help fund it, but to prove there's an audience for it. And it was successful and things went great. And we are just going full speed ahead on this. So that was definitely a highlight of my 2023.
That's a pretty huge one.
It is.
What?
And I have to say that if I was asked what one of my highlights was, it was seeing Sarah's Kickstarter be successful. That was so exciting for all of us. We just loved it. So other highlights for me, I think one of them was I got to take a trip to the UK with my daughter and her family, and introducing them to the places that I had grown up, and also to some family members that they had never met before. And some of them lived on a farm, and we were with my young grandchildren. So new calves, new lambs, the milking parlor, it was all kind of magical. And then towards the end of the year, I got to welcome a new grandbaby. So that was also a highlight.
Okay.
That is awesome. So part of mine is a trip too. I took my first ever author research trip, and it was so much fun to tour all of England, basically a lot of it anyway, with authors, because it's so different than with family. Like the way we would inspect doorknobs and figure out how mechanisms worked, and my family would have been bored to tears, but we were all just fascinated. So it was so much fun. But then also just family wise, we took an RV trip just recently, and it just made me realize how much I love doing something where we all unplug. And so I don't know, it was just really, really nice to just be off grid and just us. And we finally played games and do all the things that in my mind we should be doing all the time, but it's harder to do at home. So, and one really exciting thing that happened for our family is I have a son that has major food allergies, and he's gone through a program so he can now drink 1 cup of milk a day. He's still allergic to milk, but it's it's what's the line from The Princess Bride? He's developed an immunity to dairy. So that's been great, I think, for his health, because he has so many allergies. Just getting more food is great. But then also he outgrew his soy allergy. So it's kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel for him and his food issues. It's been really fun.
That's
Those
fantastic.
are huge. Yeah.
Okay, that is huge for those of us who deal with this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I would have to say, I have to say I had some really cool trips this year. But I think one of the highlights I had was, it was kind of twofold. For the first time ever, I had an event that was just an event that was just me. It wasn't just a book signing. I've never done that before, which sounds weird because I know a lot of people have had them. But we had the one big author event down in Provo, at the Provo Library, that was so much fun seeing so many people come. But then on the Saturday before my event, Sarah and Sian were at an event. Actually, Esther, I can't remember if you were there too. I don't think you were at that one.
No, I don't
think so.
I had never been to an event where I was just a person, not an author. I had so much fun. And then of course, at my event, Sarah and Sian tagged along. I think Esther it was one of her kids' birthdays, so she wasn't able to come. But Sarah and Sian were sitting over in the corner, and everyone was so excited to see them. And then they're signing my book along with me. So everyone was sneaking off and getting Sarah and Sian to sign my book. So I think just the fun of all of that, it was little heights. And then of course, seeing Sarah's movie get funded was huge. So that was a really great moment as well. So
Mhm.
lots and lots of fun. So as much as we love to revel in the good, I know we've also had some struggles. So what was the most challenging thing you had to deal with this past year, and or what stretched you the most?
I think this is the same thing for me every year. Like I have this brain that wants to live in an RV and not have a schedule and not be connected with life at all and just like do stuff, but whatever I want to that day. And so in general, since my kids have hit any of them being in the teenage years, just like dealing with a schedule and trying to adjust the way I want to live to like the way I need to live to get all my kids stuff done, to get my writing stuff done, church calling, things like that. Like all it gets to be a little hard on me. So that's probably the same thing every year for me as I just kind of live my life a little bit more in panic mode than I'd like to. So yeah.
Totally makes sense to me. So I think probably my biggest challenge, I was actually at Sarah's house when this happened, and I think all of us kind of shared in this, that our publishing house went through a huge reorganization. And for a few weeks there, several of us thought we lost our editor. And so like all of us thought we were losing our editor in one way or another. So I think just the uncertainty of that, because I'm such a planner, and then all of a sudden being in this, wait a minute, I had all these plans and now all of them are being undone and things are moving. And, especially, I mean, a lot of us have been with the same editors for a long time. I think all of us have, we've all had our same editor for a really long time. So I think that was it's such a special relationship that was probably my biggest challenge, was thinking that was not going to go forward. Luckily, things are working better now. But that was hard that first couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would add my vote to that one too. We had 1 week where it was really, really hard. A lot of uncertainty, and we're glad that we're in a better place now. I think that probably was one of my most emotionally challenging times of the year. My physical most challenging times were these lovelies. Having braces put on at my age is not, I wouldn't put it in top 10 things to do unless you really are having a serious midlife crisis. But I would veer more towards getting like a Mercedes if you're going through a midlife crisis rather than braces. But that was probably
The Mercedes might cost less.
Yes, seriously, and hurt less.
Yes.
Much better way to go.
Oh my goodness. I think for me, the thing that was the most challenging was I felt like it was kind of a year of extremes. I had some really great things that happened. A book I'd been waiting for years to release finally did. We got to do our cookbook, which was fun to see that kind of finally happen. I ended a big series in a way that I was really happy with. We had this movie that's been working on. And so these like great highs. And then in the midst of it, we had losses in our family. We lost our dog, which was devastating in ways that I wasn't anticipating. My health has had a lot of struggles. I've had surgeries. Like it felt like everything contrasted each other. So even in the highs and in the ups, I found myself spending that time holding my breath, waiting for the next, shoe to drop. And it always did. Like there was always something. We were anticipating a release that I was excited about. And right before that happened, like Traci was saying, we had this big reorganization at the publisher, which just upended literally everything about our publishing plans and journey. And so, yeah, it was such a contrast. I think it ended up being a struggle to try to find joy in the happy moments when you knew the bad moments were coming. Like they're coming for me. So let's just say my therapist made bank this year because I wasn't dealing with it great. So that was probably my biggest struggle.
We got to the point where I was asking Sarah for her therapist's number. So, we're just like, hey,
it was a rough year, y'all.
I might as well, if I'm staying with you, we might as well like go through it together. So
Exactly.
It's crazy. Okay, so now we've had the highs and lows. What about something that surprised you this past year?
Well, I would still put the big shakeup in our publishing house as one of the big surprises, because I think 99.9% of us were completely blindsided by all of the changes. So that one was definitely a big surprise. I think if someone had told me this time last year, I would have been surprised by how much traveling I did. Um, we, I went overseas a couple of times. I've traveled to Florida, and then of course we did a lot of book signings, and Traci, Sarah, and I did a big tour through Texas and Colorado, and Traci and I went up into parts of Idaho. So I think the traveling was something that I hadn't anticipated, but has been really fun.
That's great.
That's so neat. Yeah, I agree with everyone what they've said about the publishing stuff that's been going on. Has been definitely like you think you know how everything works, and then it like that is kind of pulled out from under you. But yeah, so I think my other thing besides that would be I wrote a rom-com this year, a contemporary Christmas one, and published it. And like I'm just enjoying that I got to do that. I've tried to start one multiple times. I have one that I still kind of love, but like luckily some friends kind of dragged me into doing it as a group project thing. And so I needed that motivation, I think, to actually just bite the bullet and put one out. So I'm really excited about that. That's been super fun, actually, but also a surprise because I didn't think of it myself. Someone told me to do it, and luckily it happened at just the right moment. And because usually if somebody asks me to add something else to my plate, I'm like, no way. So that's been a fun surprise that I wasn't counting on.
Did you enjoy it enough that you think you'll do more?
I really enjoyed it. It's actually kind of like a
Yay.
weird moment for me where I'm like, I definitely will keep writing historicals, but it's going to be a hard shift for my brain because that's my
Yeah.
thing I have to work on. And I'm like, okay, because it was like first person present tense. I mean, like there's
Oh,
things
wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
oh,
a
that's
little bit.
huge.
Yeah. So like,
Mhm.
I think it was actually really easy to slip into rom-com mode for me personally. I read a ton of them, but I'm worried that now it's going to be harder to go back into
To shift back.
historical,
Yeah.
past
Mm.
tense, third person, like, so yeah, we'll see
Right.
how that all goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it goes okay because I'm
Yeah,
diving
well,
into that
contemporary
now.
rom-com and historical fiction, even if it's humorous historical romance,
Yeah.
it's a very different voice.
Oh,
So
it's very
yeah.
Oh,
different. Yeah.
yeah, and
Well,
as
yay.
somebody who does flip back and forth, I'll just
This
tell you,
whole thing, yeah.
give yourself a week or two so that you're not throwing the wrong words in.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes,
yeah,
because we all have a week or two between projects, Sean.
no. I'm not saying that you don't write it. I'm saying that if you have written it, you go back for the 2
Yeah.
weeks you've written and rewrite all those
Fix
words.
it.
Okay. That makes more sense.
So
That
now
sounds
I know what
accurate.
Esther's going to be doing next year.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, my thing that surprised me in 2023 is actually really similar to Esther's. The beginning of the year, I was talking with the acquisitions editor at one of the houses I publish with, and I was about to wrap up a series I'd been publishing with them for five years now. And she said, "So, what ideas do you have, for your next thing? What are you kind of thinking about?" And I had a moment where I was like, do I make a normal person proposal, or do I tell her about this really kind of out there idea that I have that I think could be really fun? And so I thought, why not? The worst she can say is, that's a little bit out there, Sarah. Let's dial it back, right? So I told her about this idea that I had, and I say out there, it's still definitely a me idea, but it's a shift into a different like subgenre. So I explained it to her and she got really excited. So it got proposed to, the acquisitions committee and the board and all that. Anyway, it's been approved. I get to write something really, really different. And I was legitimately surprised that they weren't like, nah, let's go back into familiar territory. So pleasant surprise, but still a surprise.
That's awesome.
And let's face it, we're all excited to read
I
it,
know.
no
I'm
matter
like,
what
we
it
can't
is.
wait.
It could be Sarah's grocery list, and we'd be like, "Oh, I can't wait!"
It is
I'd
pretty
love-
entertaining.
I was gonna say, I would love to see her grocery list. You know, that's fun.
My grocery list still has a thing that says ingredients needed to beat Sarah and Sean.
That's
Yeah,
right.
in the
Trio.
freaking kitchen. Yeah.
But I would
Mm.
have to say probably the thing that surprised me the most this year was I was out in a conference in Arizona. My husband and I both like moved our two sons to different locations on the same week. And so we ended up, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go wherever you are because I don't know, you know, like I was going on another trip a week later. And so he ended up meeting me in Arizona. And I remember him, like he was texting, he was like, hey, you know, saying our son was now officially off of our car insurance. And so I texted him back and I said, and flights to Europe are officially on sale until like the 21st or whatever. And he's like, so where are we going? I was like, and I about fell over. Normally it takes him time. Like he just has to plot through it. And you know, he wants to ponder where we want to do. And I was like, here are your options. Like pick one or I'm picking. And so he did. And I was like, all right. So that's how we ended up going to Prague together where he hadn't been there before. So I was just really excited that, you know, a lot of times I've had the joy of traveling with friends, but we're finally getting to where we might have a little more opportunities to travel together. So that was kind of my surprise for the year, was getting to do that with him. Okay, so shifting gears to the new year, what is something you are looking forward to, or that something new that you hope to try? So I don't know. I'm still kind of pondering this because for me, I think just surviving my publishing schedule is something that I'm hoping will happen, because doesn't that count? Like it's something I'm trying to stay on track.
Well, if that counts, then my one counts, and that is I really want Traci to try taking a 0 work vacation, because I know that up until now she has been completely incapable of doing it. So my goal is more for Traci to, I'll just hand you a goal. And I think for me personally, I would like to take on Esther's, where I am able to cope a little bit more with our crazy schedules and simplify a little bit more and figure out what is a priority and maybe let some of the things that aren't quite as important slide.
I think all of us are listening to that going, yeah, I could probably use better balance in life.
No.
What's balance?
Exactly, but I don't have it because of my own choices.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. I mean, who needs to declutter anyway, you know?
Right? That's for my kids to do someday when I die.
As the person who is
decluttering plan.
I've done that for multiple people. Please don't do that to your children.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gosh.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I all of a sudden have like a coughing fit. So let's see if I can get through my answer without coughing again. I think 2024 is going to be the year of new things for me. Like I don't have to come up with something new because it just is going to be. We're filming a movie, so I'll be on movie sets and traveling for that and consulting and hopefully having a movie come out if we can get it done in time. I have this new project I was mentioning that's really different and unusual for me. I have a different project that also is different and unique for me that we think will be finished up this year. So yeah, it's a lot of new things, which is actually kind of fun. When you've been at this long enough, it's more rare that you're doing something that's really very different. So I think there's going to be a lot. And weirdly enough, because I'm also very much a planner, I'm actually excited about it.
That's awesome. Going with my theme of the day today, when Traci asked like what new things do we want to try, I'm like, I just want to get rid of some old things. But if I had to choose, like if I had to just think like what would be something really, really fun, I don't know if this will happen, but I would love to like buy an RV so that we could do that whenever we want. We've RV'd like quite a bit, I would say, for people who don't own one. We rent them always in like the fall or spring when it's cheaper to rent than the summer. So yeah, that would be like a fun thing. I'm not saying we're doing it, but I'd like to do it. Yeah.
That does sound fun.
That would be pretty awesome. And I actually, one thing that just dawned on me that I hadn't thought of before was that this spring I'll actually have my book Jim and Catherine will be coming out, and that'll be on my 20th the 20th anniversary of my very first book publishing. But then later in the year I will have my 50th novel or 50th book with my with our publisher will come out.
Wow.
So I was like, to have both of those hit in the same year is kind of cool. And of course,
What I'm hearing is multiple parties next year.
Parties.
Well, and
In
an
an
RV.
RV. In an RV. I think, and you know how
I'll come
Esther
pick you
took
guys
that-
up.
Yes, she took that author trip. We just need to have an
Yes.
author RV trip.
Oh, guys, this is not Europe. No. I mean,
We can
it's
still
okay,
look at doorknobs.
That's right.
well, and what we'll end at the premiere for Sarah's movie.
yes.
Because
There we go. We'll just
I
pull
already
up in
told
the
her I'm
RV.
sneaking in. So
Nice. It's honking as you come in.
That's
I have
right.
a feeling we're all going to have a lot of fun this year. So
Yeah.
we are looking forward to many, many wonderful new experiences, and even some of the similar ones that we're excited about. But now we're going to throw a couple of questions to our listeners. We would love to hear, please put in the comments, what surprised you the most this past year? And what are you looking most forward to in the coming year? And don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe channel and like our channel. And we hope we will see that you will join us again next time, and have a fabulous new year.